Hello, everyone, and welcome back to DSP versus the Internet, episode 71 for June 30th, 2024. This is part 5, so I hope you've enjoyed the first 4 parts, which were our Ultra member submissions. Now I'm going to answer 2 questions for a Super member, because Super members are entitled to get their questions answered on the show, though we don't usually get that many. And then we're going to go into the standard submissions tier, watch a few videos, see what everyone else is thinking about this week. Let's just jump right into these 2 questions. The first question: how do you like the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC so far? For those who don't know, this is the name of the DLC expansion for Elden Ring. It is the only DLC expansion the game will ever have. Essentially, it's like a Elden Ring 1.5. And what I mean by that is it's a new map, there's new dungeons, new bosses, new exploration, and much like the original game, it's a mix for me. Like, there are times when I'm exploring the open world, the first few hours of this DLC, it's just not very good. I feel like it's too empty. The whole first area is a bunch of ghost gravestones and sheep, with a few sprinkling of enemies and things in. If you look close, you'll find some dungeons and stuff, which is good. But the problem is it is pretty empty, which is kind of how you feel about the open world of Elden Ring in the first few areas. It's not until you start getting to the later areas that there's more loaded. But then even then, when you get to the final area of Elden Ring, it's kind of boring because you've kind of seen it and been there, done that already. I think it's good when it comes to the legacy dungeons. So far, I've done 2 of the major legacy... No, I take it back. I've done 3 of the major legacy dungeons with unique bosses at the end. And then I've done a few of the mini dungeons that are more like the mausoleum, the blacksmiths, the jails, that are a little bit more repetitive. They're still fun. I still like them. And the bosses are kind of fun and neat. I think where this DLC shines is the incredible amount of new weapons and stuff that they added. So, I mean, I've been playing for about 20 hours now, so roughly I'm probably halfway through it, and I've probably found like 30 to 40 new items that are all either craftables that are crazy new ones, or really unique weapons. You know, infinitely regenerating throwing daggers or throwing glaives, giant clubs, huge great swords that have explosive magic effects, you know, new magic spells, new different kind dual weapons are a big thing in this DLC. We have dual wielding of this weapon. That's really going to add a lot of replayability to a lot of people who don't just play it once, but they play it more than once to unlock the new styles and everything. There's a lot of that in this DLC. I really feel like they felt like this was the swan song, the last hurrah for Elden Ring. So they crammed an incredible amount of content into the map. Even though the map looks confined at first, you realize as it expands, there's a middle floor, a high floor, and a bottom floor to everything. There's underground rivers and caverns. There's, you know, secret ways to go higher up on plateaus and the like. There's fissures with dungeons in them. It's pretty detailed, the way that the game works, in that way. It's deceptive, because at first it looks like, oh, it's not that big, and the next thing you know, oh my god, this really is insanely long. So for the most part, I'm enjoying it. I've already respect essentially twice. First, I respect to go from magic build to, like, a heavy club build. Then I respect again to become a tank with a shield and a different club. And I'm probably going to end up changing my build again by the end, I would think. So I'm really enjoying it for that. It's pretty much on par with standard Elden Ring. If you liked regular Elden Ring, you'll like this. The people who are complaining about the difficulty are essentially people who didn't really play Elden Ring without a bunch of crutches. If you just summoned your way through base Elden Ring, you're going to have a hard time with this DLC. If you actually took the time to learn the game mechanics and figure out how to play it, it's not a big deal at all. That second boss that everyone complained about, I beat in 6 tries, 15 minutes. It wasn't even a big deal at all. Like, what's the big deal? So, anyway, yeah, I'm liking it a lot. Can't wait for more. Probably getting into the second half of it this week. And then the second question, I want to share a funny video with you to watch on your own. Would you be interested in having it as a submission in a future episode of DSP versus the Internet? But if you have a video for me to look at on my own, you could always just email me and I'll give it a look if I have a chance. Not guaranteed that I'll have a chance or that I'll even respond. You know, I get tons of emails every day. If you have one you want me to watch on the show, then submit it for the show. I'm kind of confused at the question, because first you're saying you have a video you want me to watch on my own, but then you ask, should you publicly submit it for me to watch publicly on the show? Like, that's kind of contradictory, is it not? I don't even know what the content of the video is, so I can't really accurately answer that question because I don't know what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Anyway, all right. So those are the super member questions for the week. And now it is time to jump into the standard member submissions for the week. We start off with the return of Dr. Mike. We know who he is. We've seen him in previous videos before. The dirty truth about scented candles. I can't wait to hear about this. My wife and I occasionally burn scented candles in the house. Not all the time, but sometimes. Particularly in the fall and winter, because you don't have fans and air conditioning on at that point, so you could smell them better. But let's see what he has to say.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Varshavsky, a board-certified family medicine doctor. Welcome to the new series, Truth or Scare, where I dive into the latest research and give you my take on the scariest, most viral health claims making news today.
Okay.
This episode's claim that burning candles indoors can emit toxic chemicals that cause all sorts of serious health problems, and the type of candle could make it worse?
Burning a candle for 1 hour has the same negative effects as smoking a whole cigarette.
Let's get into it.
What's hilarious is, so he says the general thing, and all the general things are actually true. Then he plays the guy who's the extremist guy who just completely goes off the deep end with what he says, right? Here's my take on this. Is there smoke that comes out of a candle when you burn it? Yes. Are there chemicals that come out of that smoke? Yes. Okay. Is it dangerous? All inhaling any smoke is dangerous. It depends on how much, in what period of time, right? And it depends on the situation, the room you're in with the smoke. If you are in a large home and you're burning a candle in your living room and the smoke is going into the open air, there's some smoke in the air, but you're not actively, directly inhaling it the entire time. Will it affect you negatively? Yes, in an incredibly minor way. If you're living in a closet and the only air in the closet is confined to the closet and you light the candle and all you're doing is inhaling the smoke of the fucking candle, yes, that's going to be bad for you. But again, this is like common sense. And the problem is a lot of these people on the internet don't have it. They just want to propagate the crazy theory to make you scare and watch more of their garbage content. So I want you to think how crazy that is, right? How insane that is. How many, maybe if you live in a house and you're burning 17 candles at once, maybe then, but it's like, so you burned a candle for an hour. You really think that's the same smoke as smoking a cigarette? The cigarette, you're literally taking every piece of smoke from that cigarette and inhaling it directly into your lungs actively, versus passively breathing some smoke that's in the air as a result of a candle in open air in your home. And that's passive. That's not active. It's just, let's continue. This is crazy. Fucking
Whenever
people.
you burn anything, you will
They're
have
nuts.
chemicals released into the
More
air that
conspiracy.
can be harmful for you. This
Here
will
we go.
change drastically based on what's being burned, where it's being burned, and how long you're exposed to it. One group of chemicals detected in those emissions are called volatile organic compounds, or VOCs for short. Some VOCs, like benzene and formaldehyde, are well-known carcinogens, meaning they can cause cancer. Then you have particulate matter, a mix of solid and liquid particles small enough to get deep into your lungs and enter your bloodstream. These particles are a component of soot, that dark, powdery residue you might see on the floor of a fireplace or inside of a glass candle jar. Inhaling them can increase your risk of lung and other cancers and respiratory diseases like asthma and COPD. Soot is mainly caused by incomplete combustion. This happens when the wax doesn't fully burn because there isn't enough oxygen available. Visible smoke is the most obvious sign of this incomplete combustion. Candles tend to give off this smoke right after they're lit or when the flame is dying out. One older EPA study actually found that a few seconds of smoldering produced more particle emissions than several hours of normal candle burning did. Third are phthalates, or endocrine disruptors. They're chemicals that truly can impact hormone levels, as well as aggravate allergy and asthma symptoms. Technically, phthalates are considered like semi-VOCs. Phthalates are actually specific to scented candles. They're used in synthetic fragrances, which give most scented candles their aromas. Burning a candle creates a very low level of exposure to all of these chemicals. This is the case for both scented and unscented candles, and candles really made from all different types of wax. However, there is some evidence showing the type of candle wax might play a role in worse emissions. In addition to containing phthalates, scented candles are said to give off more soot. And there's some evidence that paraffin wax, which is made from petroleum, produces more VOCs and more soot than natural waxes like beeswax and soy wax. But these differences are likely too small to make candles a true health hazard. Also, at least one study found that I looked at showed that all types of wax basically release the same mix of chemicals into the air. Those worried about allergies should be on alert when it comes to scented candles. In that case, you'd want to avoid all products with added fragrance, not just candles. But if you use candles a typical amount, should you panic? While typical candle usage doesn't have a truly defined meaning, the National Candle Association does recommend 4 hours as a limit. They also say to follow a candle manufacturer's instructions on ideal burn time, using a well-ventilated space, and limiting how many candles are burning at the same time.
So literally everything I said. I said, since you're burning it in an open air of your home, probably not a big deal. Just don't burn a ton of candles all at once, which why would you do that? Why would you burn a ton of scented candles at once? They'll all contradict each other's scents, unless we buy 10 of the same candle, I guess. And don't do it forever, because you're putting smoke in the air, but you do it for a limited time. Like, it's all, again, it's common sense shit. It's not like, oh, you're a genius for knowing this, but people are just dumb. And they just fucking, you know, they do the wrong things. Or you get the conspiracy theorist who says, oh, well, this is true. No, it's not true. It's only true in the most extreme fringe situation where someone's a moron, that any of the stuff that you're saying would actually happen. So, all right. So I think actually we've seen enough of the video. I think we have our answers. There is no dirty truth about scented candles. Just burn them in moderation. Do it in a ventilated area, not in a tiny closet. Don't directly inhale the smoke, and you're fine. No, they don't poison you. You don't die from them. It's ridiculous. Okay.
Rob, this is Fashion Week over in Paris. The latest fashions are on the runway for next spring. But there was a problem out there today. One of the British designers' shows had the difficulty. A model fell down twice. That's her going down once. The young woman wearing that pink skirt and the orange platform shoes never quite recovered.
Oh, God.
There she goes. That had to hurt. That was uncool. That's embarrassing. This is at least the second time.
A little wobble. A crazy wobble.
Well, you all are just feeling tickled by that, aren't you? You try walking in those shoes.
Hey, first of all, baby, I got enough meat on me that it's all right.
I mean, I don't even find it funny, honestly. It's just kind of stupid. The whole runway thing is dumb to begin with. What the fuck is she wearing on her feet? They're not even practical shoes any human would buy, right? All right, let's continue. What's this? Guardian angel saves a man's life? Real or coincidence? I guess we have to judge for ourselves. What the fuck? So, is the question, is this guy real on camera? Maybe this, they think this guy's not actually real. He's a ghost. He's a guardian angel. So he taps this guy. Says, hey, man, look out. He says, for what? Then all of a sudden, look at that. The back of the truck swung and would have hit him. But he dodged it because the guardian angel tapped him on the shoulder. So what they're saying is the guy wasn't real. It could be a ghost or an angel that helped the guy. That's it. That's the whole video. Wow. Well, okay then. I don't know. You tell me. Looked like a real guy to me.
Have you ever noticed all the weird restaurant names in the airport when you're hungry?
Drink Martini Bar, Soho Bistro?
Could they not have thought of something less generic than New York Deli?
Every day, millions of us visit restaurants and bars and terminals across the country that have driven up to 59% of non-aeronautical airport revenue.
But why would any of that responsibility be put in the hands of these seemingly fake restaurants? I got curious and started digging into 3 things.
First, how widespread they are. Second, who's behind them. And third, why do airports choose to work with them?
What I found was a world of generic restaurants that aren't so generic after all.
Okay, before we go deeper into this,
watch, he's gonna find that they actually are just owned by big companies that we already know, but they purposely don't brand them that way, and there's a reason why. Because, for example, how much you want to bet? Let's say the place that sells sandwiches, they probably sell sandwiches somewhere else for like $5, but at the airport they charge like $12. So if it had the same name, you would know it's the same company, and you'd be like, I'm not paying $12 for the airport sandwich. This is actually only worth $5. But because they're in the airport and they changed the name, You need the food. You think, oh, maybe it's some upper class thing, and you pay more money. I bet that's what he's gonna find.
When I say fake, I don't mean these restaurants are breaking the law. These are legitimate businesses. They're just not your typical franchise or the cozy local spot they pretend to be. A bagel from New York Deli doesn't taste like a bagel from a New York deli. It turns out there's a whole landscape of these wannabe recognizable establishments stretching from coast to coast. Crazy fact time, every point on this map indicates—
This is a well-made video. I never heard of this guy, The Hustle. This is a very well-shot video. I actually really like it. I'm enjoying it. His delivery style, the framing went from coast to coast. The camera moved. This is well shot.
It's an airport that hosts fake restaurants. But here's the thing. I did some digging and learned that one-off, airport-specific dining isn't a new trend. Turn back the clock.
Apparently, one-off airport restaurants started popping up in the 1930s. The idea was to make high-class waiting room, ticketing, and restaurant facilities to attract and retain customers. Since flying was very
cool, everyone into the history of it. It's a well-made video.
Wanted to rake in more dough than their captive customers were providing at the time. They went big, targeting not just travelers, but non-travelers too, and turning airport dining into tourist attractions. Guys, people came for birthdays, dates, and even Thanksgiving dinner. Thanksgiving dinner? Who goes to the airport? Get ready, guys. We're going to the airport for Thanksgiving dinner. Actually, that sounds kind of cool. Like, could we bring that back? Over time, the number of passengers started to grow. By the 90s, airports were stacking their rosters with franchise players. Things rolled this way until the early 2000s. After 9/11, higher levels of security slowed things down and forced travelers to spend way more time in airports. This ramped up the need for more food spots, and that's when we saw a lot more generic restaurants taking up space in the airport. Let's use JFK Airport as an example. This is a map of Terminal A. Look at all these dining spots. I recognize some of these instantly. Global chains that we can find almost anywhere, but others, not so much. I don't know who these people are. I started to dig into it and I found something interesting. Out of 18 eateries, 12 are generic, but here's the catch. Out of those 12, 4 are all under the same umbrella, OTG. Turns out, OTG is a concessions vendor. It's time to say hello to one of our main characters, Rick Blatstein. Rick started his career as a successful nightclub owner. In 1996, he launched OTG as a single restaurant with the goal of delivering a great restaurant experience that just happened to be in an airport.
He got the idea when a friend asked him to manage some restaurants and bars at Philadelphia International Airport.
His first weekend there saw a blizzard that packed the airport with passengers.
He told Smart CEO magazine that he called his wife and told her that he was selling everything and focusing on airports.
The company now operates more than 350 locations across 11 major airports. And they're not even the biggest player. Vendors like HMS Host have similar generic restaurants and locations from Los Angeles to Vietnam. But there's still one point that doesn't make sense to me. Why work with the operators of generic restaurants rather than exclusively with franchises? That's when I came across this. On average, planting golden arches in an airport terminal costs $45,000 per franchise. Wait, it gets much better. A Baja Fresh Express can cost between $202,000 and $695,000.
All about the money.
That's not including tech or equipment costs. Operators also need to pay ongoing fees to the franchise in addition to rent to the airport. By creating generic restaurants, vendors gain the flexibility to run the show, free from the franchise fees. So what's in it for the airport? Operators like OTG allow airports to simplify management and streamline operations. They make life—
So I was completely wrong. It has nothing to do with them being existing franchises and selling their food for inflated prices. It's to avoid the franchising fees. People who want to run these businesses do independent things so they don't have to pay all that money for the fees, but also they don't have to have the same tech, the same management structure. They could do it their own way. Okay, they're still insanely overpriced, but okay, I did not expect that to be the reasoning, and that actually surprised me. All right, let's see the next video. Oh, I already know about this.
Let's imagine you're shopping for a new refrigerator. Let's say you decide on an LG stainless steel 22 cubic feet refrigerator with an ice maker. You can buy that at Home Depot for $1,300.
Yep.
Alternatively, you could buy that same exact refrigerator at Rent-A-Center for 0 money down and 99 weekly payments of $40. If you do the math, you'll end up paying about $4,000 over the course of a little under 2 years. That's the equivalent of a 150% annualized interest rate compared to the price at Home Depot. Despite charging astronomical effective interest rates, rent-to-own stores like Rent-A-Center are extremely popular in the US. There are over 10,000 rent-to-own stores in the country, with millions of regular shoppers. In this video, we'll take a deep dive into the economics of rent-to-own, and why so many consumers choose to shop there.
I can already answer this, because most Americans don't have insane amounts of credit. They don't have good credit. A lot of them have already blown their credit. Their credit scores are terrible, or they don't, they maxed out their credit cards, loans. They don't have the money to invest into something all at once, right? For an average American, it's a lot easier to say, hey, $40 a week for something. Oh, I could pull that off. I could squeeze $40 a week out of my paycheck for something like a fridge. Well, your fridge broke. And you have $1,300 plus tax, plus everything to buy it at Home Depot, or you have $40 a week. I have $40 a week. That's what I can afford. So you end up paying the lower amount in increments, but the increments are astronomically long. So for that fridge, he just did the math. 99 payments of $40, that's $4,000. You're going to pay $4,000 for a $1,300 fridge, but you're only paying $40 a week. So you can afford it. You see? The problem isn't that people don't have the money. They don't have the money now. And if something like that, you need it now. You can't wait to save up enough money, right, to buy the fridge. You need the fridge now, or else you have nowhere to put your food. So a place like Rent-A-Center is a predatory business that outright admits that they are ripping you off, but they're doing a service to Americans who just don't have credit or don't have savings, and say, well, you can still have what everyone else has. You just pay way more for it over time. It's incredibly similar to the payday loans that we researched on a previous episode of DSP versus the internet, where you need the money now. You absolutely can't wait. It's for something, an emergency. So you take the loan out, and then as you're paying it, you realize, why am I paying so much to pay it back? Because you're going to end up, let's say you take a $500 loan out. You actually end up paying like $2,000 for a $500 loan over time. But you needed it immediately. You need the fridge immediately. You can't wait. They're predatory businesses. 100%. They're preying on the American public, knowing that people can't wait for things and don't have the means to just buy them outright. I don't even have to watch the rest of the video. Like, I actually know all about these. It's pretty messed up. It says, better to buy a used refrigerator off Craigslist. Yes and no, because here's the thing with that. Let's say, oh, there's a refrigerator for $500 on Craigslist, right? If it works, you're good. What if you get a bum refrigerator? You're fucked. You just threw away $500. And if the person already is that tight of a budget, they can't just throw away $500. You see? There you go. Anso Kamaru got timed out for saying something. I don't know why, though. Oh. If you can believe it, Anso Kamaru, you forgot to put a space in your statement. And because of that, it thought the period was part of a link. And the Nightbot timed you out thinking you posted a link in the chat. He says, I work in internal training department for a certain restaurant. And our airport branches are the absolute worst. They don't need to follow standardized rules. It makes us look bad. There you go. Oh, I think we have time for one more video before we split the part. Let's see what the next one is. Oh, actually, well, yeah. Let's see what the next one is. And then for the next part, I'll actually pick videos I want to watch.
Wow, what a great game. Maybe I'll continue it sometime. Maybe not. I probably will, but who's to say? Anyways, hey guys, Joel here. You might know me as the RPG guy, or the Mafia guy, or this green guy, whatever this guy was. But most of the time I'm just Joel. And today I'm coming to you as an animated just Joel in order to show you how I make my animations. Because
oh, wow, really?
I've been asking, and I want to get that information.
Damn, he got 5.6 million million views on this to show how he makes his videos. That's kind of cool.
Information out there, because I think the more creative tools people have, the better. So, without further ado, I am going to show you how I made this video.
Premiere, Photoshop, and EV Synth.
So the first thing you want to do is shoot the video. And I already shot the video, so let's take a look at that. So the first thing you want to do is shoot the video. And I already shot the video, so let's take a look at that. All right, perfect. So now you just edit it normally. All right, just edit it as if now you just edit it normally. So once you have the whole thing edited, you export it as a PNG sequence. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you a frame-by-frame breakdown of your whole video. And then you take those frames, and then you divide them into separate folders for each individual shot. Then once you have them in their own folders, then you can animate. So I'm just going to show you one shot, because if you could do one, you could do them all. But
so it's essentially stop motion animation. He's splitting it into individual frames, editing the frames, and putting them back together. That means these videos take insane amounts of work to make if he's not lying.
Let's choose just a random shot here. How about this one? So I'm just going to show you one shot, because if you could do... So you're going to want to choose a frame from the shot that has the most face action. And by that, I mean you want the eyes open, you want the mouth open. Because your biggest enemies during this is going to be blinking and closing the mouth for syllables. Because as soon as that happens, the eyes and mouth are just gone, and it looks like some horrible creature. Believe it or not, I do this whole thing on a mouse and keyboard, but you bring that frame into Photoshop, and what I do is I usually start by outlining the character in the shot, or the person. This usually takes a while. You outline the person, and then you could have some fun with this, you know, like the most extreme example is for the Scooby-Doo video. I wore a big fluffy hat, and then I used that for my head shape.
Oh,
so you
wow.
don't have to adhere to the
That's actually
facial
cool.
structures. You know, I usually make weird noses for demons, and I do, you know, you could have a lot of fun with the shape. I could look like this, but I could also use my face shape to make me look like this. Isn't that fun? That's crazy. So once you have this frame completed, fully colored and with a green screen, you open Absinthe, choose that as your keyframe, choose the folder of the shot you're doing for the shot, and then create a new folder for it to export the generated frames. The first couple videos I did, Absinthe was still in alpha and it took forever, but thankfully this process goes much faster in the beta, and it's not a headache like it used to be, so that's awesome. So now that Absinthe is done, you go into Premiere, and then you import the new shot that Absinthe created as a PNG sequence. Then you interpret the footage to be 24 FPS to match the original video. And then you might have a shot, or you might have blinked, or the mouth closed, and then all the face gets messed up, or you move too much, and now it's all blurry. And sometimes those glitches are okay, but sometimes there's so much that you should just redo the whole thing. So if it does get messed up, you go back into the processed folder, delete all the messed up frames, go back to the original shot, find a new frame in that range that has your mouth.
So he literally hand draws every shot and then has what was it, Premiere, re-edit them into a video after, right? That's cool. I mean, that's an intense amount of work, which I never knew that he actually did that much work. But that's pretty crazy, right? Now, let's see here. Outro, what's he doing? He's just sitting here?
And waste our lives to make it. You know, we should be able to feel good while making art. And Absinthe is one of those tools that lets you do that. So thank you for making it, Absinthe team. And yeah, I also love the aspect of it that it goes well with improvisation, because all my stuff is improvised, and it's so fun how the realistic motions kind of capture the awkwardness and realness of improv, and I love that aspect. And I don't know, best advice I could give is do a lot of live action stuff too, because if you're still trying to learn editing and dialogue and pacing and stuff like that, you're gonna have a very slow go about it if you're only doing animations. I think
cool. That's awesome. I give this guy credit. I mean, he made a bunch of popular videos, and now he gave his craft away. 3 years ago, he explained how to do it. He got 5 million views on doing that. But, I mean, that was pretty epic that he would just give that away. I never thought that he would have done that. Nice of him. All right. Good stuff, guys. In the final part for the week, I'm going to pick some videos that I specifically want to watch for the end of the show. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the final part for the week.